Sure thing. I will get us started here. Thank you for passing that along, Charmaine. So as she mentioned, I'm Jen, also known on Instagram as hooptimism. So hope all of you are watching, that I know. Hello. So really excited for the conversation that's going to happen today. And I wanted to quickly run us through some forum guidelines just so that we understand how we're going to set the tone as we're talking with one another, and making sure that we're also grounded in respect and just a celebration of the community that we are together. I think Charmaine's going to present the slide in a bit, but I can just run through the high level ideas here. So first, in terms of the way that we're framing this discussion and why we're all gathered here, we are here to discuss the state of the flow arts community, particularly with regards to racism, allyship, representation, and accountability. And what we intend to do here during these next couple of hours is share our stories, voice any concerns that we have about the state of our community, and also, importantly, begin to generate solutions so that we can collectively move forward. Okay, I'm actually going to pass it back before we go over the specific guidelines. I'm going to pass it back to Charmaine so that she can talk about how we're going to set the tone.
Okay, great, thank you. So again, yeah, thank everybody for joining us tonight. We hope that everybody has come with us with an open mind. So tonight we're all about setting the tone and not policing it, right? So what are our motivation and our intended outcomes? Just like Jennifer was saying, tonight we're here to discuss the state of the flow arts community with regards to racism, allyship, representation, and accountability. We intend to share our stories, voice our concerns, support one another, and begin to generate solutions to collectively move forward. One thing I really wanted to talk about tonight, and I hope that those of you that are watching really kind of take this piece and really think about it, especially as we are going through our discussion, and that is cultural competence. Cultural competence is the process by which individuals and systems respond respectfully and effectively to people of all cultures, languages, races, ethnic backgrounds, religions, and other diversity factors in a manner that recognizes, affirms, and values the worth of individuals, families, and communities, and protects and preserves the dignity of each. Cultural competence is something that I strive for every day. And one thing that I want to encourage all of you is to strive for that as well, because that is one thing that can help us lead to, again, solving that bigger issue of hand, which is racism. So moving forward, I'm going to pass it back over to Jennifer so that she can go over our discussion topics and talk to you about how the forum will be structured tonight.
Awesome. Okay, so in terms of discussion topics, we have quite a few. We're going to focus on racism and discrimination in the flow community, and we're going to start with that, especially because this was such a core part of the motivation for this forum. We're also going to be talking about performative allyship and sponsorship, so what it means to truly be an ally and how to avoid the traps of performative allyship. We'll talk about responding to being called out, especially how to respond in a way that really supports and affirms the humanity of our BIPOC family and friends and the people that we're in community with. We'll also talk about increasing BIPOC visibility and representation in ways that avoid things like tokenism and are actually genuine in their approach. And lastly, we'll spend some time talking about how to hold small businesses, performers, and influencers accountable to actually support our BIPOC members. So in terms of our panel affirmations, we have two that we're really using to ground the way that we're going to talk and share our stories today. First, each panelist is the author of their own story, and we really encourage all of the people here to embrace that and encourage that you are the owner of your own story. And we're really honored to have you here to share that and respect that. Second, our cultures and identities are intersectional. This one is really key in that we are coming to this discussion without trying our best to kind of challenge our assumptions around how we view other people's lives and perspectives. So we recognize that there are really multifaceted ways that we exist in the world. And we're here to, again, celebrate that and untease that, or tease that apart in our conversations. Okay, lastly, before we jump into the actual fun stuff, the discussion, and get to introducing our guest speakers, I wanted to quickly cover the forum guidelines. So I'm really excited to be here to help moderate this discussion, and all of the guidelines that we put together today apply to both what the panelists are saying in this conversation live, but also everything that you're able to share in the chat as well, in any way that you're able to contribute as viewers. The first one is take space and make space. This is really speaking to the importance of acknowledging your right to share your perspectives, your viewpoints, and your experiences, but also balancing that with the need to be aware of how to balance our contributions to the discussion and ensure that all voices who want to speak can be heard. So I'm going to be helping time keep in certain ways and help generate the discussion in ways that ensure a balanced conversation. So second, take space as you feel comfortable. So honor consent and boundaries. You should consent to only what you want to share or what you want to ask, for example. There is no pressure to share anything that you don't want to. And we, as viewers, as listeners, as sharers in this space, will respect the boundaries that you set and what you choose to share. So disrespecting those boundaries, like pushing for personal details or questioning too far, will not be tolerated. Third, center comments in respect. So respect is really key for us to move forward collaboratively and collectively. So as we work to make this an inclusive space, we should really be striving to lead by example and fundamentally respect other people's humanity. So as we talk to one another, let's be sure to ground our comments in respect for each other so that we can move forward. We're all here because we care about making our community better, we care about the status of our community and how we support one another. So we are here to also help each other avoid the human response of becoming defensive in conversations that make us feel uncomfortable. Instead, we can try to work past that. So respect isn't necessarily the same as never feeling uncomfortable in certain conversations. We're going to help each other to push past that safely. Okay, so fourth is consider both intentions and outcomes. So before you speak, think about the potential outcomes of what you say, and think about especially whether or not that aligns with your intentions, what you actually hope will happen. So actions speak louder than intentions. That's something that we understand. And so we're going to work to recognize that though we acknowledge positive intentions, we are really going to focus on what the outcomes of those are. And we'll use it as a learning experience if we run into any issues. Next, we want to check and challenge assumptions. So when you're sharing comments, when you're sharing questions, especially in relation to something someone has shared about their lived experience, just take a moment to think about what you might be assuming about that person and make sure that you're not making uninformed or unfair assumptions. Acknowledge the difference between sharing a personal experience or providing facts or data about a situation. Both of them have roles to play, but they're different. Next, we also want to invite collaborative conversation. So in the spirit of believing that we're all here to improve our community, the way that we care for one another and make things better, let's invite collaboration and think about the ways that we can work together through multiple methods and projects to move forward. So we're here to really uplift and elevate the passion and care that we see. And in terms of encouraging genuine reflection, in that same vein, if someone does share a comment where they are working through an active reflection, let's establish a sense of trust and a space of support for them to do so by encouraging active reflections and affirming the importance of that active reflection process. Okay, last couple, accept genuine disagreement, but reject bigotry. So this is a really big one. Though we may disagree about various points in this discussion over time, and these are really complex issues, so that comes up pretty naturally, I think, and it's kind of part of a healthy conversation, part of a healthy discourse. especially as we're moving through talking about things with a lot of historical and personal context. We really want to acknowledge that there are going to be disagreements, or there may be, but we're again going to center our conversation in respect and work to engage in any disagreements respectfully and thoughtfully, unless, big caveat, there comes a moment when we feel that someone has shown us unreasonable harm or disrespect, for example, through acts of bigotry, as those will not be tolerated. So I'm going to help kind of find the balance there too. And lastly, we encourage everyone to give feedback thoughtfully and accept it humbly. So this one actually is a great segue into the being called out versus called in conversation, how to respond to that. If there does come a time during this conversation when something is said that's harmful to others and requires in the moment feedback and a call out or call in, let's give that feedback and engage in that process respectfully and thoughtfully. Again, acknowledging that person's humanity first, but acknowledging this is an opportunity to show up and contribute. So if you're the person being given feedback in that moment, we ask that you accept it humbly and resist that really natural psychological urge to become immediately defensive, and instead work to reflect, again, lead by example, recognize the harm done, and work to resolve it. Okay, I know that was a lot, but we think it's really important to make sure that we're all on the same page on how we're guiding and framing this discussion. Really excited. Okay, so now let us move forward to present our speakers and get started on these topics. So I'll just go in order here. So let's have Charmaine introduce herself first. Unless you feel like you already went, I'm happy to skip.
No, I'll go ahead and do the introduction kind of as we planned. So again, hello everybody. My name is Charmaine Dorson. On social media, you may find me as Do Charm or the Hoop Stallion. I created flow therapy for the culture back in June 2020 of last year. I'm not going to go into all that. You guys we'll talk about that later during the break. Some things about me: I am 29 years old. I am a mental health professional, and I work with individuals with disability in securing employment. I also hula hoop. I've been hooping for about 6 years now, and have done poi and silk veil fans for about the past year or so. I am very thankful to have been able to organize this and find a team of such great individuals to work with me together so we can bring this all to you. And my pronouns, there we go. My pronouns are she, her, and goddess, because I'm on that spiritual tip. So thank you for having me here, and I will pass it to Chelsea. Chelsea, if you can unmute and open up your video.
All right, can y'all see me? Okay, all right. My name is Chelsea Cooper. You mostly know me online as Chelsea Lenair. I am 34, and I've been doing flow for 7 years. Started off with hoop, and I now do fans and learning staff. My pronouns are she, her, but I will also answer to they, them. And cultural identity, I'm of African American descent. And recently I became the director of Infinite Circles Community. And I think that this needs to be done because of everything that has been going on.
All right, can we have Izzy go next?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. What's up, guys? I'm Izzy, he, him. I'm currently broadcasting from colonized Ohlone Chichenyo land, and I think it's very important that we acknowledge that. Basically, I'm just here to really bring my perspective. I know I've been vocal about a lot of things recently, and yeah, it's time to clean up this flow scene and make it like hospitable to all the BIPOC, peoples that wish to inhabit it. I believe we all need a safe space where we can flow and enjoy each other and actually celebrate diversity. And currently what we are calling diversity and celebrating diversity is falling short of the mark. So I'm just here to lend my voice and help amplify these beautiful Black people or BIPOC people. Yeah, because, everyone's voice is important.
Perfect. West, can you go next, please?
Hey, everyone, I'm West. My pronouns are they, them. I am on unseceded Cayuga Seneca land, which is in upstate New York, Ithaca, New York. I am Black, mainly from Caribbean roots. What else? I'm originally from New York City. I have been flowing for quite some time. I actually learned with friends in high school. We started with glow sticks. We used to do some poi, but I've since learned hoops, fans, staff. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you. We already did Chelsea. Michele, can you go next?
Hello, everyone. I'm Michele. I am a law student at Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I started hooping in March of 2018. I learned my first trick at Okeechobee Music Festival when I asked a girl who I saw hooping to teach me something because I just thought it was the prettiest thing in the world. And here I am today. Oh, and my pronouns are she, her as well.
Perfect, thank you. Laeana, since you already got your camera up, can you go next?
Hi everyone, my name is Laeana. I am the admin and creator of BIPOC Flow Artistry, previously known as Hoopers of Color. I am, pronoun she, her, and my occupation, I'm a speech language pathologist. I work with children and adults with speech, language, and communication disorders to regain their ability to communicate effectively. And yeah, and I've been hooping since March 2020. So this is my 8th month hooping, and I was waist hooping for probably a year before that. Yeah, but I'm just really excited to jump into this conversation. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, thanks for joining us. Kaneeesha?
Hi, my name is Kaneeesha. You guys can all call me Keeks. Before I start, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that I'm currently located on Treaty 6 territory, which is in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I think I'm one of the few Canadians out here, but that's all right. I'm 26 years young. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a Black Guyanese bisexual clown. I've been performing for 15 years, hula hooping for 8. To be completely honest, I wanted to bounce from the hoop community a few times over the last little bit here, but with everything going on and being able to find and connect with all of you has helped drive my motivation to know to use my platform for better. So I'm excited to learn and speak and connect with everybody. So.
Perfect. Amber?
Hello everyone, my name is Amber. I also go by Amber Flows on Instagram. I am a white female from Southern New Hampshire. I have been hooping for about 5 years, and I'm here today because I think a lot of these important topics are necessary, especially in the flow community with how things have been going recently. I'm very excited to be here, and thank you guys for having me.
Ashley?
Let's see if this works. Can y'all see me? Hello?
I just have a black screen.
What's happening? Okay, maybe.
There we go.
Okay, we're just gonna have to go with the.
There you are. You're here.
All right. Okay, here we go. Hey, y'all. My name is Ashley Wright. Just to start off, I am currently residing on the unceded territories of the Clackamas, the Cowlitz, and the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. I've been hooping for about six years or so. I think I started in 2004, and I've been really quiet in this community for a very long time for many reasons, but I'm really grateful to see the type of like transition and progress that has been made recently. I'm 30 years old. I go by she, her, hers pronouns. I also respond to bro and dude sometimes, so it's kind of it's just like that. But I'm a multiracial Filipino and white woman with a few other races in there as well. But yeah, I believe that's it. I'm super honored to be here with y'all today, and thank you to everybody for putting this together.
Audra?
Okay, am I there? Sweet. I'm Audra. I own and operate Miss Hoops a Lot LLC. I am a white woman, and my pronouns are she and her. I have been part of the online flow arts community for 6 years. I've been hooping for about 7. And all I really have to say is that I am just super honored to have been invited to be a part of this. Super honored to, converse with some of what I think are, some of the greatest leaders that this community has seen. So really excited to be here, really excited to see the changes in this community moving forward.
Perfect. It looks like Nicole just hopped on. Nicole, perfect time because we can go ahead and you can do your introduction.
Okay, can y'all see me? I'm in the car.
We can tell you're in the car, girl.
Okay, that's better. Is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Oh, I like your hair.
Thank you. Okay, y'all know me. I'm Nicole, Blackgurlhoopin. My pronouns are she, her. I identify as Black / African descendant of slaves. Well, not slaves, but enslaved people, because I don't want to reduce them to that. They were enslaved. People captured them. They were people. So, what else was I supposed to be saying, Charm?
Where are you from and your pronouns?
Oh, yeah. And I'm from Chicago, the Windy City. And again, my pronouns are she and her. Or I'll take queen or even goddess or, just the center of the universe, just all type of things.
All of it. Awesome. And then last but not least, I believe that's all the speakers. So then we'll have Jennifer, our moderator, give herself her introduction, and then Jennifer, if you can go ahead and start us off with the floor. Just go ahead and get us started.
Awesome. Thanks, Charmaine. All right, so I did a quick introduction, but I'll do the fuller one. Again, I'm Jen. You may know me as Hooptimism on Instagram. I am currently residing on unceded Southern Pomo land in Northern California, but Los Angeles area still has my heart because I recently moved from there. I identify as Afro-Latina. My parents emigrated from Haiti here, but I'm also part Cuban. And my pronouns are she, her. So excited to be here, and let's get started. Okay, so the way that we'll do this is move through some questions that we have just to get the conversation started, but we'd like this to be very open and just have the conversation go in the direction that it needs to go. So definitely all the panelists don't feel restricted by this. If there are follow-up things that you want to say in response to someone else, definitely feel free to do so. So we'll start with racism and discrimination in the flow community. And the first question is pretty open and broad here just to get us started. What do you think is the most important thing for our community to know about racism and discrimination in the flow community? And you can take this, interpret this in whatever way you'd like. And I don't like to call on people. I think, you know, whoever feels kind of most called to answer this first is fine. But if there's a lot of silence, then I will.
I'll start it off. So I think one of the most important things is one of the things that's always repeated and constantly repeated when just an issue of if someone of Black, Indigenous, or a person of color brings up something as problematic or racist or has an experience in the community and they bring that to light to the majority group and they have to defend it in some type of way, racism doesn't need to be defended. If somebody of the minority group said something was racist, you listen and you try to learn from that. And I think that's one thing in the flow community that I found as kind of interesting is that sometimes we have to kind of defend reasons why something may or may not be harmful or appropriated or misrepresented from a marginalized group.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just jumping off of that, Leigh and I and Nicole recently got a message that I think we're all mods of the BIPOC Flow Artistry group. And we recently got a message that highlighted that, in which I feel like the flow community wants to really lean into this love and light image to the detriment of talking about or even accepting, like you were saying, some of the things that we're bringing up as racist and as harmful to us. So I think, you know, that's a huge thing that needs to be addressed. Like, let's stop gaslighting our Black BIPOC flomies by saying like, well, the hoop community is so filled with love and so filled with light that we couldn't possibly be racist.
Agreed, West. Yeah, Tila as well. She, like, we all were just talking about that as like, it's just so dehumanizing in a way to just, just say, oh no, what you're saying is not valid because I see otherwise in the community. That is wonderful that you see something otherwise in the community, but do not deflect and do not, just cast what I'm saying away just because you feel some type of way. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback on all of that too. I've been sitting here, I've been thinking about it over this past week, and to me, that type of gaslighting and that type of tone policing that we've been seeing in this community over and over and over, especially recently, to me, that's almost even more harmful than the blatant racisms that we see in this country, in these spaces, whatever it is. And I don't like, I can't help but think about Martin Luther King and how how a lot of people of all backgrounds use Martin Luther King as this example, and they're like, well, he did it peacefully, he was nonviolent, he was a really great, well-rounded guy, blah blah blah. But when you look at it, when you look at the history, Martin Luther King, he was arrested, 30 times or something like that? He was a very, civilly disobedient man. And so to use an example like Martin Luther King and to try and just, I don't know, paint this image that, we all should be protesting a certain way, or we should all be speaking a certain way with love and light, or, more peace and more, it's just, I don't know, it's just harmful, it's dismissive, it's deflective, and it contributes to each and every one of us needing a little bit more therapy in our lives.
I just wanted to chime in and say, I don't know who's experienced this in a lot of the main hula hoop groups, but when there's discussion going on and somebody is out there calling us all out and calling us racist, they'll take themselves out of the public forum or out of the public talking space, and then they'll send you a private direct message and attack you there too. And it doesn't make any sense. If you're gonna be racist, if you're gonna stand your point, say it with your chest, like say it with your chest and say it out in public so everybody can see. Then it's just out in the open and we don't have to post screenshots. It doesn't have to be this back and forth thing. Transparency is gonna get us through this year. And if we can't all be comfortable with that, that's a problem. That's a problem, so.
Let the church say amen. Because that's
Amen.
That's
Amen.
something I'm so happy about Kaneeesha, because I grew up in a very suburban neighborhood, and I was in suburbia and probably the only Black girl in my class, K through 8th grade. And so grew up in what I would say is white culture, right? And so when it comes to being confronted on a public platform, right, with the groups, and seeming like, it's not like when we call you out, we're trying to embarrass you or anything like that. And I feel like sometimes that's something that's rooted in white culture is public perception, and you being embarrassed or called out. Sometimes they get, kind of spooked by that. And then behind closed doors in your inbox, in your DM, or maybe not even in a different chat group that you are later alerted about, there's way more things told about you instead of somebody just saying something to your face. I have way more respect for people in general. I don't care what color you are or what sex you are, is if you have a problem with me, you come and you approach it with me and we handle that conflict as adults. There's a lot of emotion, and especially in the topic of race, that gets pulled in and gets people distracted from the heart of, we are just having a simple disagreement or argument, and we can have that respectfully.
Yes.
I just want to.
I would just.
I'm gonna chime in too after.
Okay. I just wanted to add too, like, when someone is talking about racism, especially when someone is talking about their specific experience, it's like when you come to the conversation, you need to be at the conversation for understanding. Don't come to the conversation to debate, to debacle, to pick them apart, to make them feel embarrassed. That in itself is dehumanizing. And I just want to use that word because that's a very important word. Because at the end of the day, we're all just like spiritual beings, like living a human experience, right? I'm in this body. This is the body that I got given, right? You got the body that you got given. And I should not be treated any different than you because we both got a body, okay? And if I am sharing my experience, don't invalidate it because you don't understand it at the moment. Do not invalidate it because you don't see it. You haven't seen it because a lot of times you're not seeing it because you don't want to see it, because you're not paying attention to it. You're living in a bubble of just your privilege, because it's a privilege to be able to go throughout the world and feel like everything is all hunky-dory and everybody gets along and nobody treats anybody differently because of race or class or anything like that. That's a privilege. BIPOC people don't have that privilege. So when I'm sharing my experience, you need to listen, you need to understand, and you need to validate it and not debate and debacle.
Facts. I just wanted to add, being called racist is not the worst thing, that can happen to you. we live in these systems of power dynamics and oppression. So it's like if someone calls you a racist, yo, we're not saying, oh, you're a horrible person, like go die. We're saying, yo, this one thing was not correct, or these ideas are not correct. It's the same thing if someone was to call me sexist or misogynist. I'm not going to then be like, oh, well, I guess I'm just the worst human being in the world. I guess I should just never talk to women ever again in my life. Like, no, it's like, yo, you have to understand that when you're walking into certain spaces, the attitude and energy that you're used to carrying with you may not always be accepted in these spaces. Like, we have to remember that there is this like respectability game. Like, white supremacists literally will open the door for an old lady, you know, because they've been taught to be polite, and in the same breath call a black person the N-word, you know? So you have to realize that, like, just because we're pointing out certain behaviors and certain actions as racist, you know, this is not the end all be all for you. We are not saying, oh, well, you might as well just join the Klan now because you're a racist. It's like, no, we are all on these journeys of anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-everything behavior because we are trying to learn and navigate these spaces properly. And it's very important that we listen to the people that are calling us out because they're actually giving us direction. If you are driving down the road and someone says you made a wrong turn, are you going to keep going in the direction you're going in? Like, no, we're trying to get you to the right place. We're not trying to, you know, be like, oh, Jimmy took a left. Guess he doesn't want to go with us. It's like, oh, no, Jimmy, you took a left. Come meet us back on the freeway. It's really simple to me. And I think that, like, we need to take that emotion out of it when people are calling us out. And that's my time. I'm gonna pass it off.
So yeah, I think racism is like a super important topic that should be talked about in the flow community at all times. And I've found in my personal experience in flow groups where people will be like, this isn't a political place, or like, I don't want to talk about that here. And it's like, human rights is always something that should be talked about. And if someone is checking you and you are white, and the person that's checking you is BIPOC, then I think it's the best time to learn and like take in what someone is saying to you, and like don't get defensive because, like everyone said, like it's not like we're trying to fight each other. It's like we're just trying to educate each other, and when we educate each other, that just helps everybody all around.
First of all, I just want to say, Izzy, that was an amazing analogy. Like, that hit me deep and I loved that. So thank you for that. Jumping off of Amber, a lot of people don't want to talk about it. And I think a lot of it is rooted in ignorance and a lack of education, because since they haven't experienced it firsthand, they don't see the severity of it. And it even goes to, I forgot who mentioned MLK, but they're like, oh, he was peaceful, he didn't riot, when he in fact said riots are the language of the unheard. So it just really does go to show that there's a severe lack of education, and we have to find ways to facilitate conversations with them, especially like as allies as well, to try to help educate them in the best way possible where they don't get defensive, which is a very hard thing to do sometimes.
My turn to speak, I think. So I wanted to piggyback off of Nicole when she was saying, you know, don't invalidate me, you know, don't do things like that. And just in case, you know, just so everyone knows, if you do, don't act like, woe is me. Like, you are not the victim if you're the one that is basically, whether intentionally or not, causing harm, causing us to feel small. Don't be surprised if we snap back. It may or may not come out nice. It may or may not come out as, you know, calm and level-headed as we all would like. When people's feelings get hurt, it hurts. So please be aware of that, and don't expect all, you know, people of color to just be, you know, just be calm and cool and, you know, collected whenever they do that. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Okay, there wasn't anyone else that was going to jump in, I think, on that question. So unless there were any last comments people wanted to make, we can move on to a different one.
I have a quick last comment.
Yeah.
Jumping off of what Laeana said as well, like, I'm thinking what I've been ruminating on up until this conversation is like how to frame some of the things that I've seen and some of the things that I've noticed in a way that will move us forward, right? And when we're talking about the ways in which certain white people are reacting to us calling them out, right? Something that we really need to be paying attention to is the fact that this is going to be a process. Like, if you are the type of person who reacts in the ways that we've been describing, you're not going to just flip and not react that way. So what are some ways that we can like shift forward? Like, can we learn that once we're getting into that defensive space, it's actually better for us to be like, oh, you know what, y'all? Like, I was tripping. Like, I was being defensive. I'm human. I'm so sorry. Thank you for all the energy and time that you just put into informing me. That is going to make someone who I'm looking at and saying, okay, this person wants to be in community with me. This person wants to learn. This person isn't going to spend all of my energy fighting them on something that's happening already. So yeah.
Thank you, West. I think that was an excellent last point. And I'm just so in awe, have to say, I'll probably say this at the break between every section, but just so in awe with how like beautifully you're sharing all of these thoughts and how wonderfully I think the conversation is flowing already. So really, really happy with this. Okay, so let's jump ahead actually to the performative allyship and sponsorship conversation. So just as a reminder, we're trying to spend like roughly 20-ish minutes on each one. I know all of these could be, you know, multiple hour conversations and we're aware of that, but we unfortunately can't be here all night. So let's move forward to the next section. On this topic, let's start with, again, a more broader, a slightly broader question. What does performative allyship or sponsorship mean to you? And as some follow-ups to that, kind of like, what does it look like? Why is it harmful? How can people avoid it?
So I will head off on this question. So to me, performative allyship, that is something where we definitely seen a lot of it come out in June and over the summer. And to me, I think of that in the terms of like with businesses and influencers and things like that. So when I am trusting my Black dollars to a business or my Black attention to an influencer and my Black likes to somebody's page, it's someone that I have to kind of connect with, right? Or a business that I connect with. I can spot out a company that I feel like uses Black people or Indigenous people for the trend. They hop on the hashtag because you only see them talking about it when it's trendy. And they share all of their resources, like yes, this, that, and the other. But you look through the rest of their values and it doesn't really align with the rest of the messaging. And then, you know, that's fine if the history does it. If somebody, you know, says that they're going to make a change and they do. Okay, great. June was 6 months ago, right? June was 6 months ago, 7 months ago from now. A lot of companies made so much action and they made so many posts over the summer. And they followed that since then, but how many other unarmed Black people have been shot? There was a pastor that was shot and killed in his house just the other day. You know what I'm saying? And just even saying that sends chills through my body. You know what I'm saying? So where is everybody else that you said you wanted to listen and stand and grow from us and all of this, but where are you now? There's no hashtag trending, so you're not here. So you were performative in the beginning. So therefore, I don't mess with you.
Okay, I wanna, you know, I was kind of late to the party, tardy to the party. Did you all define what racism is?
Now go ahead.
Okay, so racism is basically a system. So when you're thinking about a system, right, it's different parts of it that work collectively together to make, to carry out a bigger plan, right? So racism is a system that is put together and constantly perpetuated to keep certain races at certain levels beneath other races and under other levels. So I just wanted to put that out there because someone said that racism doesn't exist. So let me give you some examples of how racism does exist. First of all, let's talk about even just money-wise. The average Black man, his highest earning potential would be $80,000 a year in his lifetime. But a white male, his earnings would be $150,000. Then let's talk about life expectancy, right? We know that Black people, people of color, have a shorter life expectancy because of the system of racism. Because we have things like police brutality, because we have discrimination in the medical field, women, Black women, are less likely to have breast cancer, but are more likely to die compared to white women from breast cancer. So anybody that wants to say that racism doesn't exist, I suggest you go and do your goddamn research. Go do your research. Because it does. It exists every freaking day in little nuanced ways that you don't even realize, that you don't even recognize. Because what? Because you have a privilege to stay in a bubble. Those things don't affect you daily, so you're not thinking about that shit.
Yeah, and I think kind of just jumping off that too, like that leads right into why when people aren't thinking about it or they come from a bubble, that leads right to their performative allyship and their performative, influence.
Exactly.
And it comes with, sometimes it does come from a place of good intentions. There's poor execution. And from the jump, you don't even know the community that you're trying to connect with. You don't know the code of the community. And that's really important. We all have our own, for lack of a better word, kind of code or culture as Black people, especially if you're a Black person that's a descendant of slavery in America. If you are a great-grandchild or great-great-grandchild or whatever of slaves, you know slave code. You know what I'm saying? And so even with how we interact and put on our suit and go into white society and then come back home, into our homes and into our realms and into our comfort, when they want to, help or kind of have a way to give back or whatever, a lot of times they don't take the time to learn who it is they're trying to help. They just want to do what they think is best or what they're used to, what's good on the outside. What's good on the outside is your public perception and your look and you putting on paper that you signed a pledge. Because in white culture, where it's like, government, parliamentary, they're all about paper and individual things, you care about that. I could care less about a company giving me, some cute pictures on their website and all of that. Where are they spending their dollars? What are they doing in their community? What does their internal structure look like? Their employees? How do you guys do diversity, anti-racism, any kind of training? What's really going on? Because if you're just showing on a superficial face, that's performative. That's nothing to me.
I don't know about everybody else, but my Instagram page looked like the Zoom call with all the black squares back in June, and then it just fizzled out as to where we are now. My inbox was swarmed with people asking me questions, people wanting to be better. I would make posts and let people know I ain't got no space right now. We're going through a lot collectively. You want to talk to other Black and Indigenous folks. You want to communicate with them, but you got a lot of white people in your inbox asking you questions. And they also don't want to pay you for your time. They don't want to pay you for your effort. A lot of festivals will take advantage of people of color. They will, I've performed on side of a lot of like other white performers, and they're getting paid money and I'm getting paid in tickets. They're getting paid in cash, cold hard cash, and I'm getting paid in clothes. And like, I'll post you on my Instagram. Like, that does not pay my rent. That does not make
Say that.
It does not. And it's really important that people understand that if you want to have Black education, when we're out here on social media giving it to you for free, we're offering you these resources for free. Take that opportunity to read what we're posting. And if you don't want to do all that, then you need to pay us for our time. That's what it comes down to as well. So, and also holding them accountable for when they do that too. So.
Kaneeesha, I'm so happy you brought that up, because I'm not taking up any space. I'm gonna give it to the next person, but I'm gonna just remind everybody watching that, right, we often are devalued and give a lot of energy out there. And so for tonight's forum, what we did is we put together a collective tip jar. If you are watching on social media, it's pinned in our chat, but the link is linktree, linktr.ee/flow community, ITY, there we go, /flow community. The F and the C are capitalized. So it's a linktree/flow community. Go there. We have a tip jar, and we'll be splitting them amongst all the forum speakers. Next speaker. Thank you, guys.
I think it was me next. Also with performative allyship, I don't know for anybody else, but for me, I look at time and intensity. How hard were you going before something big happened? How hard are you going after something? If you're not just gonna be an ally for 3 weeks until like the hype is over, or were you an ally beforehand? And are you as strong as an ally afterwards? Like in June, I saw a lot of Black squares. Come that next month, we back to doing whatever we were doing before, not even caring. So just right there, that intensity's gone, and the time. You were an ally for Tuesday? Just Tuesday. Are you an ally for past Tuesday? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, another thing I would add too with performative allyship is kind of what Kaneeesha was saying with just spotlighting us. So Black History Month is next month. So I can already predict there's going to be, a lot of Instagram feeds with Black hoopers and flow artists and companies, maybe even using that for marketing or whatever. Are you just reposting people's videos? Or are you contacting these artists and these performers? Are you compensating them? Are you trying to collaborate and work with them? Are you trying to uplift them and bring them up? Or are you just simply like, oh no, I support them because I like them and reshare them, so maybe they'll get some followers? That is not, that's not what allyship really is. And I know that it may look like that on a surface level, but it's really not, because if there's more that you can do, why aren't you doing it?
Okay, we have about 8 minutes left on this one. Anyone that we haven't heard from, no pressure if you didn't have something to share on this particular question, but just wanted to open it up that, if anyone we haven't heard from on this topic wants to share anything,
I'll add something on here. So just like speaking out of like the honesty of my heart. So obviously, like, I feel like I've definitely promoted like Black artists and BIPOC artists for a long time. And obviously when June happened, I think a lot of white people were definitely like scrambling together to be like, oh my God, am I supporting Black people enough? Like, am I donating things? Like, am I doing this? And then like weeks went by, and then kind of just like baseline back out. So allyship, I think, is something that is a lifelong thing, and you shouldn't just be going out of your way to like reach out to like a BIPOC or a Black person to be like, how can I be a better ally? That's on you. If you are a white person, you should be doing the work yourself. No Black person or BIPOC person owes you any of that time. So it's a simple Google search, pick up a book. There's things you can do to research yourself.
Absolutely, yes. That was beautifully said. And sorry. I just want to add something real quick, and you know, it's just, I can't help but say that like the journey to becoming like an authentic and genuine ally it's going to be uncomfortable. Like there's going to be times where you're going to be a performative ally. Like you have to move through these stages, and like you have to be able to hold each stage and like see what it's worth and like how it feels, and then like continue the journey no matter what. Like keep going. I'll be the first to say that like when Trump got into office in 2016, I was performative as fuck. Like I was like, oh my gosh, yes, anti-fascism, fuck fascism, and then I would like do it every few months or something, and then it took years for me to get to the point where I realized that it's not just about who's in office, it's not about who's leading, it's about how we are coming together as a community to take care of each other's like basic foundation. And like I'll say Martin Luther King's name again because his birthday's coming up, but he believed that the 3 evils of the world were poverty, racism, and war. And the fact that, I don't know if in your communities this is happening, but mutual aid organizations and mutual aid communities are coming together so much right now all across the United States, and they're helping people to secure things like shelter and food security and just the basic needs that we all need to take care of. And there's so many different ways to be an ally. Like you don't have to just show up at protests. You don't have to just share certain BIPOC accounts on your social media. Like you could literally be an ally by making a friend with a more disenfranchised person and helping them to secure certain things like food security and these things that I just mentioned. There's so many different avenues, but that's all I want to say. Okay, peace.
Yo, I just want to big ups to Ashley because she is slapping right now. Like, if y'all are tuning in, you really need to be listening. Like, everyone is dropping incredible gems right now. So I just wanted to echo like 2 points. One was made by Amber. Yeah, Google. Like, yo, just like you asking us how to not be racist. Yo, take that same question, type in Google how not to be racist, and you will find answers along the path of anti-racism. And then, like, to echo what Ashley was saying, dang, honestly, I'm still so hyped over what she said, I can barely remember. But basically, yeah, like, we're all going through this, guys. We're literally all going through this. You know, men, we got to worry about not being sexist and misogynist. We got to worry about not being our exclusionaries and our phobics. Women have, of different things, have different things to worry about. Like, we're all in this together. Like, like, it's not like if you get called out by some BIPOC people online because you're being racist, it's not like they're better than you. It's not like those same people aren't getting called out for being transphobic or, ableist or all of these other things. Like, it's about, like, we're all in this together. It's about this system of accountability. We're all trying to be better. We're all trying to grow together. So, like, don't take it to heart when someone's calling you out because, like, we're all getting called out. That's the point. Like, we're trying to get to the same destination together where we can actually create these spaces where literally no matter who shows up, everyone is taken care of, everyone is on the same page, everybody feels safe. That's our utopian society. That's what, like, isn't that what we're here for? If you're a love and light person, isn't that what you incarnated for? Isn't that your spirit journey or mission or whatever? To help create these spaces where, like, people can be free? Like, so I just want to say that, like, we're all in this together. Like, when you're getting called out or called in, just remember that and take it to heart. We're all just trying to help each other.
That's a great point. I also wanted to say that if you do get called out on performative allyship, it's not necessarily someone saying like, oh, you don't care at all, because I think as allies, we are all susceptible to it. I think it's no secret that I go really hard on the keyboard sometimes. There are times where I attack people, and honestly, it's something that I even need to work better on, because I wasn't always a perfect person or a good ally at all. I actually was once that person that was the one invalidating and whatnot. And then I went to college and my major was sociology. I took a class on race and racisms, and that class actually taught me how wildly ignorant I was. And even after that class, I continued educating myself and reading up on materials and stuff. So I, of all people, need to realize sometimes that just taking a moment to breathe before speaking to someone, to not attack them, is really, really important. So yeah, we're all susceptible to it, but when we get called out on it, instead of getting defensive, we need to reflect on it, because like it was said earlier, actions are louder than intentions.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I just wanted to call out Audra. I think you still had one comment to make, right? So then after that, we'll shift over to the next.
So I just wanted to follow up on some of the points that Charmaine and Kaneeesha made, which was, if there's more that you can do to support BIPOC folks within the community, why aren't you? And I think that one of the big topics of conversation that I saw personally over the summer was, well, how do we support Black and Indigenous and people of color in the community in ways that are tangible to them? And so that was like, all the white people were just kind of looking around like, what do we do? And the truth is that you guys are telling us what you need us to do. And it really comes down to white people just kind of sitting still for a minute and not immediately trying to jump in with your 2 cents about what you want to do and how you want to do things, and rather just listen to what's actually being said. There's so much free information. We've got all these people on this panel today, and you already know that there's going to be people after the panel going, well, I just don't know what these people want. Like, I don't know how to support them. And it really just comes down to listening and paying attention to what is being said, because the information is there. Like Amber said, Google's there are books there, but we also are getting a huge amount of information from Black and Indigenous and people of color in the community, and people just don't want to listen to it. They don't want to take part in it. They talk over people. They want to tone police people. So I would really urge the white folks in the community, myself included, to really just sit still for a minute and be quiet and listen to what people are saying, and try to support our Black and Indigenous and flow artists of color in ways that are tangible to them. So that's it.
Thank you so much for that. Jen, do you want to do the break, and we can kind of take a break, lighten up, and talk about do our shameless plugs?
Yes, that sounds like perfect timing for that. So Charmaine, do you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share my screen. So back to the presentation. So this is just all of our presenters that we have tonight. Myself pictured here. On Instagram, I am the Hoop Stallion. We have Jen, our moderator, Hooptimism, Chelsea, Hoop with Coop. We also have West at West Desert Rose, Izzy, Magic, Nicole, Blackgurlhoopin, Laeana, Flowstoppa, Kaneeesha at Kaneesh, Ashley at Healthy Planet. We do have a panel tip jar open. To get to the tip jar, we made a link tree that will have actually all of our links. So not just to the tip jar, but to our YouTube channel, which you can find a recording of tonight's forum posted this weekend. Tonight's tip jar will be open from today, January 14th, until Sunday, January 17th. All donations received in that time will be split amongst the panelists tonight. To get there, you can go to Linktree, that is linktr.ee/flow community. The F in flow and the C in community are capital. Today's panel was brought to you by Flow Therapy for the Culture. flowtherapyfortheculture.org is the website. You can also follow us on social media at Flow Therapy for the Culture. Here you can come and check out our community events, some of the projects that we've been working on. We also have a list of flow jams and flow playlists that are on Spotify. So if you need anything new to listen to and to jam out to, definitely check that out. We also have the Black Flow Market. And so what the Black Flow Market is, and this is a call out to all Black shop owners in the flow community. If you come to the website and just send an email to the Black Flow Market, you can get listed on there. The listing is free. It's supported by donations, so there's no cost to get on the Black Flow Market page. But that page is a directory of Black-owned flow shops. Right now we have about 4 or 5 on there. I'm definitely looking to grow that list more. And if you are looking to collaborate with me, there's an option to do that on here as well. Next month, we will be having an event called Flow for Black Love. We will be highlighting what Black love is, because it is so vast and it is so beautiful. And so right now we have a call out for performers to submit their submissions. The deadline is January 31st, 2021. We will also be launching our sponsorship application. So if any of you guys have a shop or small business or anything and you think this is an event that you would want to sponsor and that you would vibe with, again, go to flowtherapyfortheculture.org. The email's on the bottom, admin@flowtherapyforblackgirls. Shoot me an email and we'll be launching the sponsorship application next week. So I will switch it over to Laeana. Laeana, can you talk about BIPOC flow artistry?
All right, so is my slide up? Okay, so if you don't know already, the BIPOC flow artistry moderating team includes me, Laeana, I'm the admin, and there's also our lovely, lovely moderating squad. Oh my gosh, could not do anything without these incredible people. Nicole, Blackgurlhoopin, Tiila at Tilos Dos, and West Desert Rose. Amazing, amazing moderating squad, and I'm so happy to be with them for this group. Yes, so we have a Facebook group and we have an Instagram page. Please follow and like us there. And our BIPOC flow artists, please join us, in our Facebook group. We'd love to have you. Please check our link tree. And we're planning some challenges and collaborations. So look out for that. And if you have any ideas, genuine ideas, please feel free to DM. And that's about it.
And if I can add a quick thing, Lay, just to clarify, this group is for BIPOC only. So our allies, this group isn't for you. This is a space where we can be comfortable and we can create the space that we envision. But you can follow the IG page and spread our message and spread the BIPOC artists that we're highlighting.
Absolutely. Thanks, Wes.
And then we have mentioned this link before, but it's just bigger and bright on the screen. This is the link tree. On the link tree, there is a survey about tonight's forum. Please, please, please complete that. We would like to know your feedback. We had a ball, putting this together for you. And so we genuinely want to hear, what the community has to say, to us. The link to the tip jar is on there, the YouTube channel, and then also the link to Flow Therapy and BIPOC Flow Artistry, so you can go like the pages, support, and do all that thing. And we want to send a special thank you to Pro Bono BSL for interpreting today's event. It is super last minute, and I'm so thankful that they were able to come and provide interpretation for us. That is such a necessary service. So, my heart just pours out, and I think the flow artists and I actually had two people reach out to me on Instagram and sent me this resource, and I scrambled real quick to get it together because I do believe in disability advocacy and accessibility for all. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much for doing this in so last minute. And Jennifer, back to you.
Excellent. Okay, so we can go ahead and jump to the last few sections here, or the second half of sections. This one is focused on responding to being called out. So I love that a lot of the conversation so far has kind of highlighted things already. We've gotten some like some lead ups to this essentially. So I'd love for everyone to kind of continue to build on what you've said already. But essentially, one of the questions here is, how should people respond to being called out that will best resolve the harm that was done and best support BIPOC flow artists? And actually, I know that we've only been getting to one question, but I think an important one to think about, so I'll just throw it out in case people have ideas on this as well, is how should not only the person who's done the harm, but how should friends and family of those who are being called out respond as well? Again, in ways that best support those that are being harmed. So I know Charmaine has started us off on the last couple of rounds.
Can you have Audra start this one off?
Great point.
Hi. So one of the things that I see a lot of when people get called out, and particularly their friends and their family, immediately want to come to their rescue. And, you know, the common response is, they're great people. They donate, they go to protests. I've known them for years. I've never seen them do anything racist. I've never seen them say anything racist. And I feel like that really invalidates the hurt and the trauma that the victim has suffered. So rather than trying to defend your friends and your families that are being called out for racist behavior, call them in, hold them accountable, force them to acknowledge the hurt and the trauma that they've caused. If you can't call your friends in on that kind of stuff, are they really your friends? Like, do you have friends if they're not willing to call you on that sort of stuff? Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. And I know me personally, I have been called out before in the not so distant past, and it's not easy. It doesn't feel good. I think a lot of people like to believe that they are inherently good people, and when they get called out on stuff and they're being told, hey, you hurt someone, you harmed someone, you need to address this behavior, immediately people want to become defensive and go, whoa, but I'm a good person. And I don't think that anybody is denying that, but it's important to acknowledge the hurt that you have caused. And so for me personally, it took me quite a bit of time to really sit back and reflect on the things that I did wrong, and the hurt that I caused, and, you know, to acknowledge my role in it so that I don't perpetuate that in the future. And that's, like I said, it's not easy and it doesn't feel good, but I think that it's really imperative to helping heal, you know, the community from, you know, what we're experiencing with a lot of people getting called out. So.
Jumping off of that, when your friends and family get called out for racist behaviors or doing something that was deemed racist by BIPOC individuals, just as you shouldn't go jumping to their defense, if you do something, even if your heart is in the right place and someone that is a BIPOC individual says, hey, this seemed racist to me or this hurt me in some way, don't jump on the defensive and be like, don't you dare call me that, like, blah, 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 I have done all this. Because even if your heart is in the right place and you try to be the best ally possible, as someone who's not a person of color, you were grown up and you were taught certain racisms that you have to unlearn. And there's certain toxicity in your life that even if you don't see it, it needs to be addressed. So when those people are helping you realize that, instead of getting on the defensive, try to reflect and see how you can fix that. I know even when my heart is in the best place, I've had a person of color tell me like, what you did was racist. And I'll never deny that something that I did felt racist towards them, because I still have a lot to unlearn myself. So when you're jumping on the defensive and going, I'm not racist, so I couldn't have possibly done anything racist, you're not helping yourself or the people that you claim to be an ally to. So I think a lot of people need to do better on that aspect as well.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add, oh God, my brain's starting to flow away. One thing that I wanted to add is that after you've been called out, is kind of like Audra said, sitting with that, but really trying to take a step and separate yourself from that just one event and reflect on your life and your life experiences, and maybe and try to think about how racism has or prejudices have really been present in everyday life. For example, I know the white dreads conversation, we're not even gonna get on all that, y'all, because I don't care to. But I know that the white dreads conversation was huge, especially in this community, because a lot of people that go to festivals, you know, have locks, okay? That's fine. But have you noticed, and all of us are human beings, all of us wash our hair, all of us style our hair, all of us buy hair products. When you go to the drugstore, and I always say, when I say you, I mean the majority group. So when white people go to their drugstore, all of their hair supplies and hair products are in one section. The multicultural or the black hair care will be separated. Sometimes it'll be in a different aisle. I'm not surprised if there's cameras or things around there. And that right there is systemic racism. Why is my shampoo different than yours? Why can't they all be intermingled and mixed together? It's hair stuff. But because, and so the shops do that, but now there's also people that want to come to me and defend why they should be able to have dreadlocks and it's not problematic. Like, no, you can, but also address the other things as well. Also acknowledge your privilege by you doing that. That's all that I ask.
Awesome. And I love that you shared that example, that like specific example with the hair products, Charmaine, because it's so, I mean, it happens everywhere. You know, it's like every city you see stores that are protecting certain products from, you know, from certain demographics of people, you know, to try to prevent them from getting stolen. And it's just a blatant form of the systemic racism that's going on. But I wanted to just circle back to something that Michele just mentioned. And she mentioned about how when people get called out, like sometimes they say, I'm not racist, I'm a good person. Well, for me as a woman of color, when you say the words, I'm not racist, to me, that's my first indicator that this person still has a lot of work to do. And that's just my personal, my personal experience. But yeah, I mean, every one of us has different racial biases. And especially if you are not Black, if you are a white person, a white passing person, we're all racist. We all have our own racisms that we have to unlearn. And they might show up in so many different ways, you know. It's like, it might be blatant, it might be overt racism, but it also might be internalized, like things like colorblind ideology, which is something that I am healing from. I got fucked up in the festival community because of colorblind ideology. And it is like that, for me, is one of the biggest things we really need to focus on healing in our festival community, is like shifting away from the idea that we are all one, we are all the same people. We, you know, like, I don't want to treat anybody else different because of their skin color, but like, that's kind of what we got to do to create a little bit of equity in this world, you know? So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I want to kind of bounce off of that, yeah, when people like to say, well, we're all one, it's like, how about you recognize the differences in all of us, because that's what makes all of us different anyway. And I think that's an important thing to recognize. Diversity is important. So I don't get why people always want to just generalize, oh, we're just humans, we're just all one thing. Like, no, it shouldn't have to work that way. And if that's how you think, then you should break down the way you're thinking and try and relearn into a different way. And when you're getting called out, like, I'm someone who really hates confrontation. Like, I don't know a lot of people that do like it, but I've learned a lot through time that, like, sometimes you need confrontation to grow. And if you can't accept that, then, like, you probably just shouldn't even be in this community, because there's a lot of things that need to be changed. And if you don't want to be a part of that, then it's probably not the best place for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I'm a Black woman in sales. I am in a white man's world. Conflict is healthy. It doesn't always have to be us screaming at each other. It doesn't always have to be us yelling at each other. But when it comes to being called out, in my personal opinion, it's white folks' job to dismantle white supremacy. We try our best to educate everybody, and then as soon as somebody doesn't like our tone, like, I don't gotta dot my I's with hearts. I don't have to always be nice, especially when I'm on the brink of what we're going through right now. And so you not feeling comfortable with conflict, or wanting to call out people, or wanting to talk to your dad or your mom or your family, or any of those things, you put that then on Black folks to fix for you. And the second that we chime in, we are the angry Black woman stereotype entirely. And then we gotta go in, we gotta reprocess the trauma. Trying to find a Black therapist in Alberta is impossible. And all of that could have been avoided if you had just had the conversation. It's uncomfortable. We're all going through uncomfortable stuff. We're all trying to learn, but it is your job as white people to dismantle white supremacy. We all here to help, because I can't escape it with my skin color. I don't get to turn it off. And I think it's really important for everybody to take that in and to listen. And even to the white folks who are on this panel right now, this is why it's important for you to be here, because other white folks just respond well to other white people sometimes when they're not ready to face the realities of the world we're living in. So.
Oh, Kaneeesha, you brought up two good points that I want to hit. You really did. That first one, which is, I'm going to touch on this one because it's really quick, and then I'll get to the more second one, which I know Chelsea will hop on right after me. So I feel like she already knows. So one, we actually got a message about this event asking us why we had white people on the panel, because we have Audra, Amber, and Michele with us here. And why not? That's my first question, is why not? It's interesting to me that sometimes people think, well, oh, it's a Black event, it must be all put on by Black people, why are they there? And they want to go ahead and be quick to jump to judgment. Instead of thinking why we have them here in the first place. We have them here because collectively, between all of us, there's pretty much an agreement that we know they're allies. And we trust them on this panel with us, so that's why they're here. And we brought them up here because white people listen to other white people more than they do minorities. So, you know, maybe I can say something and Amber can say something and we say the same thing. But she says it in a way that is more palatable and more digestible for you to take. And that's totally fine. Because kind of hopping onto what Kaneeesha was also talking about with tone policing and the stereotype of the angry Black woman. This is just how I speak. I have a powerful voice and I'm gonna use it. I'm a smart woman. I, am educated and I'm not afraid to stand my ground. I know my rights. I know the way that I'm supposed to be treated. And I know all of that. And I know that I can say that to you as well and expect to get that in return, because that is how human beings and adults work. A lot of the times sometimes, especially in healthcare, mental health care, Black people aren't told about their rights or treatment options. Or sometimes a lot of I have ADHD. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 28 years old. Because mental health in the Black community is something that was, for one, not accessible for us, even up until now. It's still not accessible for us. And then when we go, there's, again, racism everywhere. There's racism in mental health care. We are misdiagnosed, underdiagnosed, over-medicated, under-medicated. We are imprisoned. We are shot by the police, like the pastor just was, he was responding to a mental health call. And he shot him in his lawn 3 times. They walked him out of the Capitol. You know, so there's like real life things here. And so hopping on all of that, when it comes down to, I want to bring this one example up, going back to being called out. What I see is a lot of white people will, they love to check out on their mental health, and that's fine. And you know what I'm saying? I am an advocate for everyone's mental health. But when you do that, and when you do that coupled with an apology towards a marginalized group who has not had historically access to mental health, and may not even know the type of diagnosis or anything and struggles of their own, you are just doing another slap into the face. And so that's one thing I feel like people fail to realize is that a lot of Black people have PTSD. That's just what it is, you know what I'm saying? And you know, that is a check you can get a disability, you know, according to the US government, you can get a disability check for that. But because there's systematic racism, we don't know how to get it or where to go, and the doctors don't want to give us that diagnosis, so we don't get the access that we need. And instead we stay in the streets, we stay working minimum wage jobs, we're staying in the jails. Why are we 13% of the population in 70% of the jails? Doesn't make sense, you know? It's because they haven't been wanting to treat us. They haven't been wanting to give us access to the level of treatment, to the level of understanding, to the level of awakening, and especially in the terms of mental health, that white people have had access, and it is a part of your culture. It is ingrained in your culture. There is no stigma as strong as it is in your culture compared to Black culture. That's the difference. And that's why when people issue their public apologies and couple it with, I'm gonna check out and go take care of my mental health, you do that. I want you to do that and realize your privilege.
All right, I'm gonna jump a little on that too, on another vein with tone policing and everything. With a call out, silence is just as destructive as the act that you did. The length of time, if you're silent, gives anybody just confirmation of your intent. Also, if that's your friend and that's your family and you see it go down and you know what's wrong and you're silent, you are just as, I want to say guilty, but you're just as at fault, I feel. So if you're called out and you go ghost, what does that tell us? That are you really working on it, or you just don't want to deal with it and become the ostrich head in the sand, or you pull a Houdini and we see you in like 4 months waiting for it to blow over. It's not going to blow over. Silence is violence. Silence is the agreement with the oppressor. I think it's the quote too. So if you are getting called out, don't be silent, but listen. And your friends need to, you're not listening, your friends need to listen for you and explain it to you. Because what has silence got us now? And that's
Jen, you want to bring us to the next topic?
Sure. I thought Ashley had one more point to make, but yeah, we should probably move on, if that's okay, Ashley. Feel free to weave it into the next topic. Okay, so next, these next two, or we might have to do slightly quicker, but the next one is BIPOC visibility. And I'll start with, what is your ideal vision for BIPOC visibility? Essentially, what does good look like to you?
Kaneeesha, do you want to start this one off?
Yeah, sorry, wasn't clicking quick enough. supporting Black people. I think that especially in the festival community, especially in the life we're living now, especially in 2021, we should all be given the same chances as everybody else. But that means you kind of got to dismantle the 400 plus years of what we've all gone through. We really have to live in what we're going through right now to give everybody equal opportunities of what's going on. I remember when June hit, I had like, I don't know, 200 followers and a bunch of people posting me on their Instagram. I was very, very overwhelmed when it was happening. But then a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, I've now lost more followers because I've been vocal about it. And sometimes that means turning down opportunities, and sometimes that means moving forward and letting go of people and things that don't support you anymore. So what I want to see is Black people and Indigenous people flourish in the communities they help build. I want to see us have equal opportunity. I want to see Black women at the table in any kind of position they can be to kind of just thrive with everybody else. It's a very hard world out there for all of us, and we're just trying to do our best. We're trying to grow generational wealth as best as we can, and I think it's really important to touch just base on that. So,
yeah, and to kind of add on to that, one thing I would say with increasing BIPOC visibility, and what that means is, one, working with the community and investing in that community too, but reaching out to them and letting them know what's available and what resources are available, because you know, we don't know what we don't know. You know, we don't know, maybe we don't have the same network of knowing all these people that put together these festivals and all of that, because we pretty much, you know, we, up until June, a lot of us didn't even know each other. I didn't meet any of these people until June, when I started trying to figure out where all the other Black people were, you know. And there was a thread in ICC where it's like, can we have the Black Coopers? And there was someone, of course, commenting, oh, isn't that racist to ask? Why is it racist for me to ask for my people? Because I haven't met these people, but you know, I know that they're my sisters, my brothers. I know they're my family. I know they're my folks. I know that they're my kinfolk. I can feel it. And so, in terms of increasing our visibility, just how she was saying, right after that one event, yeah, everybody was searching for us, right? But now we're here. You've known we've been here for about 7 months. I've had a lot of the same companies even like my stuff, like it, slide in the DMs. You see that there's talent. You see there's things going on. There's been tons of people with troops or whatever. Send a screenshot, send a flyer, send it to someone on your Instagram feed that you follow. You know, give them that resource, give them that access. We don't know what we don't know. Also, too, a lot of our feeds have how do I say this? You know, a lot of our feeds, we try to kind of tailor it to where we see like images and our representation. Because just like when you see a flow artist that you aspire and she maybe looks like you, or you kind of can relate to her more in her story, same thing for us. But for us to be able to get as big as some of the other influencers and other prominent people out there, we do need the help of the community. If you see us and you see our talent and you come to our profile and you're like, whoa, they are so talented. Why do they only have, I have 1,100 followers. Why do I have 1,100 followers? You know, send them a tip on what they can do to help that out. You know, maybe there's something that you know that you can help provide it.
Wes, do you want to jump in?
Hey, I have a lot of thoughts on this. I have, you know, this has been a conversation that's been a long time coming. I spent 2011 to 2020 in Los Angeles, SoCal. So I was a part of and in and out of a lot of the flow spaces out there in San Diego, when we were going to Boogaloo and to Lightning in a Bottle, the fire performance spaces that were happening out in the desert. And a couple of things. One, a few of the Black people and BIPOC folks who were part of the circles, we saw each other and we knew each other. Like, I remember meeting Shawnee back in 2017, and it was like, whoa, you're a Black person that hoops? Let's spend Christmas together. Like, we literally spent Christmas together because we were Black hoopers that connected in LA. But I agree that we definitely need, in the shift, for us to be thinking about, oh, like, I saw that dope BIPOC hooper, they should be in this festival that I'm about to go to. Like, how can we create a mutual aid to get them here? They should be teaching because I like the way that they're moving. But also to answer the question about where our imaginations are, my imagination goes to like a BIPOC-centered flow event that is being funded, that is being crowdfunded. Like, there's so much money in this country. Like, there's so much money in between our communities. There really is no reason why we shouldn't be sharing that amongst ourselves. Couple other things really quickly. When it comes to the spaces that we have already and moving forward with it, I think that something that we ought to be focusing on is making those spaces uncomfortable for racism. We need to create events, flow spaces, hoop jams that are uncomfortable for racists. Your racist friend should feel uncomfortable there. You should be calling them out. We should be not kicking them out, right? We're not necessarily being like, oh, you can't be here, because sometimes that's when money flies. That's when opportunity flies, right? But we want to make it uncomfortable so that they're starting to think about it, right? I'm trans, and if there aren't spaces in which transphobic people aren't uncomfortable, I wouldn't have any spaces to exist. And then really quickly too, I want to make sure this is mentioned. We've talked a lot about Black people and white people. But one, we also need to be paying attention to other people of color in the flow communities. There's a huge Asian community and flow community that is also not getting the attention that white hoopers and white spaces are getting, right? That's an important issue. Equally as important is the anti-Blackness in those POC communities. So we also cannot blanket and say that there isn't anti-Blackness present there. So when we have diversity committees, when we have things that are being spoken of about racism, we have to make sure that Black people are present, because anti-Blackness is going to perpetuate itself continually. When white people are thinking about how to support a less racist space, we have to keep Black people in the forefront. We have to make sure that we're also thinking about anti-Blackness and how it comes. And okay, finally, sorry, I've been writing a lot of things down. A suggestion for white people moving forward who are having trouble admitting to being racist. Here's a moniker for you. I am a racist in recovery. It gives you the space to say, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm putting effort into not being racist, but it allows you to admit that you're racist. Because if you grew up here, or apparently Canada too, and a lot of other places, you grew up racist. You learned racist shit. I learned anti-Black shit. I learned anti-Black shit in my education. So I know you did, okay? You're fucking racist. And maybe you're a racist in recovery. Thank you.
What? There's just so much good stuff in that. I can't even touch it. I won't even try. I won't even. Like, that was just perfectly said. So many different points that I hope everyone is paying attention to. I mean, wow. So I want to say what probably, or just add on to what has already been said, because I don't really want to be redundant. So my version of BIPOC visibility, I am not only thinking large scale, which I think is absolutely necessary and is absolutely the goal. small scale. So just like how Wes said, you know, in order to say, I saw that dope BIPOC hooper, you have to figure out, all right, do I see BIPOC hoopers? Do I see BIPOC flow artists on my feed? You know, figure out, do I want BIPOC? Do I really want BIPOC flow artists on my feed? And if you do, then that's what you need to do first. That's the first step, because before you try and go do all these big things, you know, it's on a small scale. What can you do that's small right now, that's attainable, that you can start, you know, getting into the habit of reframing your mind, reframing what you see. I've always been the type of person that I want diversity in everything. In grad school, when I was doing all my projects, I'm the one looking for diversity in all of my projects, because I want an Asian, I want a Black person, I want a Native American, I want a white person, I want all of that on my project, okay? So that's, if you want to contribute to BIPOC visibility, that's how your feed should be looking, you know, that's the goal. And then from there, that's when you can contribute to the grandiose and to, you know, the bigger dreams that we have for the BIPOC community. So that's what I want to add, you know.
Awesome. Okay, Izzy, I think you have the last comment on this one, and then we'll shift to the last group.
Ooh, all right, I'm excited. So what does this look like? We're looking and talking about visibility, right? So everyone kind of already hit the nail on the head, so there's really not much for me to say, especially after Wes, you know, came in, killed it on them. But realistically, the way I see it is like, and to chime in on what Du said, we don't know what we don't know, right? And these business owners or 501c3 nonprofit owners that run these flow festivals, they're running a business, right? So that already means that they know something about the SBA. They know something about getting funding for the event. They know something about, you know, the logistics of getting, you know, people flown out from overseas and sound equipment set up and electrical and renting property, or, you know, they know these things. So it's just like, visibility really looks like organizers taking the step to bring Black people in. Wes kind of already said it. These spaces are not safe for us because they don't make you uncomfortable to challenge your beliefs. Like, we've all experienced so many microaggressions, so much vast amount of racism, that it's like, why would I bring another Black person here? Like, I'm not going to take my friend here and show them, oh, like, we're doing this cool thing, like, we're spinning fire with glow sticks and all, bro, it's so crazy. Oh, but yeah, it's probably going to be like a little bit racist though. Like, we're not going to bring people that we love and care about into these spaces. So until event organizers learn how to make spaces habitable, is that the word? Like, habitable, like, for people to like exist in, like, we're not gonna see the visibility that we want, because we all know what a Flow Fest looks like. You go there, there's gonna be a DJ booth with a little wooden enclave. It's gonna be techno music all night, maybe some drum and bass if you're lucky, maybe some trap if you're lucky. You know, maybe the DJ's a little spicy and plays This Is How We Do It or some 90s shit. You know what I mean? But it's gonna be rave music for fucking 7 hours or 8 hours or however long your fire circle goes. And it's like, yo, like, not to generalize and shit, but Black people don't want to hear that shit for 8 hours. It's weird. Like, we have all of these DJs and all the DJs are white dudes. And why? Like, why is there not
DJs from Africa?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, what we need to, you can fly out people. You can fly out people from Europe to fucking perform in a gala show, but you can't fly out a nigga from Africa? Like, I don't understand. Are there not Black and brown flow artists all around the world? Some of the best jugglers in the world are in Brazil. Can we get a Brazilian? Why is it that every time it's a European juggler on the gala show and another European juggler on the gala show in 2016 and 2017 and 2018? And like, we need to get over that. And the organizers need to take responsibility, and they need to take this next call out that they are not doing enough for the Black and brown communities, the BIPOC communities, because they also have I don't know, let's call it white blindness. You're not thinking about these things. You were not thinking of actual solutions to help this problem in this situation, because honestly, to this point, you were not ever concerned about this problem and situation. You were concerned about if you made your money back for the year and for the money that you put into promotion, and did people enjoy the gala show? And it's more than that. Throwing a successful event is now more than that, and you guys need to rise to the challenge of bringing in more Black and brown people, BIPOC people. And honestly, while we're on the topic, all of flow arts is appropriation. We are appropriating Maori when we spin poi. We are appropriating kung fu when we spin staff. We are appropriating indigenous hoop dance when we spin hoop. We are appropriating Chinese culture again when we spin rope dart. What part of flow? Boo Gang was created by a Japanese man. What prop is not owned by a POC culture? There is none. So before we even try and talk about any of the other shit, let's start with the fact that we are sitting in, like, we are actively engaging in appropriation. So we should be on our very tip-top toes when it comes to, like, getting this, like, taking care of that, because we should already be having a guilty conscience. Why are we not bringing in indigenous people to have gala shows for hoop dance? Why are we not bringing in, you know, Shaolin monks to do rope dart from, like the people are there. So it's just gross oversight to me that we are not paying attention to these things, and nobody is thinking about that. And we are all sitting in this space of appropriation. So what does visibility look like to me? It means all of that. Taking people from, any art form that we love and engage with, find the root culture of that, bring a person and a teacher from there and have them teach. Why are we finding teachers that are like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years into the flow that we follow on Instagram or that we're friends with? No, we need to be learning from the source. So visibility looks like just like acknowledging all the anti-racism where it is, and then moving forward from there.
Jenna, I just want to throw in one more comment about this, but just because it came up in the chat and I meant to talk about it, but along with increasing BIPOC visibility, it's also important that we increase visibility in flow arts of people with disabilities. And that's hidden, visible, and visible disabilities. I myself identify as a person with a disability. I have several disabilities. They are hidden. So I also identify as a disability advocate, and like I was super hyped to get the ASL recorder, because again, yes, I want to make sure that I am on my tiptoes, and sometimes as a disability advocate, there's times when I do forget. So I'm thankful that I have people that held me accountable. They called me out like, hey, do you have ASL? I said no, but I'll work on that. I'm gonna get that. I'm sure there's an ASL and a deaf hoop community or community of individuals that are wheelchair bound or with intellectual disabilities or whatever, and I don't know how to find them. Where, you know, where is everybody? Can we highlight, can we spotlight these people? Because every one of us deserves our own stage. Why not create that?
Thank you so much for adding that in, Charmaine. That's a really, really crucial endpoint. So many good thoughts. Izzy, I think a lot of what you said actually is the perfect segue. I feel like it's the first answer already to this last section here. Because the question is broadly, what does ideal accountability look like to you for small businesses, performers, and influencers when we think about how to hold these places accountable? I think you had a lot of great points on kind of how to connect to that root culture, acknowledge that. So I'd love to hear additional thoughts. I'll call out too that we haven't heard from Amber in a little while and Michele. So if one of you wants to start, maybe it'd be a good place.
Hi. So I guess for this question, taking accountability is an important thing, especially as a white person. I think being able to uplift Black and POC in the community is necessary. And I'm definitely trying to work on that myself, because I feel like I always want to be able to have a safe space, and I want to be able to create safe spaces for you guys. And yeah, I feel like that's something that I'm definitely learning on, and listening to you guys talk about all this stuff right now is like, it's really awesome, and I'm digesting all of it.
And I think one thing with the accountability conversation is that when you, and especially in this topic, is that accountability and understanding should be the first thing that you seek. I'm going to bring it back to cultural competence. You know, and if we're all striving towards cultural competence, we're not going to get there. I don't know everything about every culture, and I'm not going to. I don't expect to. I expect people from those cultures to hold me accountable, and they expect me to be able to take that and respond with them and with respect, and just like cultural competence said, in a way that affirms them and dignifies them. And I'm not going to argue back with them. I'm not going to devalue or invalidate them. And so really holding yourself accountable is doing just that. Now, kind of at the bigger level, if you are someone that does have a platform, if you are someone with, if you're a performer, an influencer, a small business owner, and you do have a platform, you do need to hold yourself more accountable, because we are looking at you and we are talking about you, you know. And so you may think it's a bad image or whatever if you put this out, and you know, that's fine. If it's not your belief, if it's not something that you are an advocate for or whatever, that's fine, because that will show and reflect in your work. But just don't come back and say that you are, or don't say that you're working on it and there's no evidence of your work. Don't tell me that you're working on it, and then 6 months later something come up and you tell me you're working on it again, because it's the same issue. So hold yourself accountable. Don't just say that you're going to read White Fragility and go to do all these links and resources and all that because it sounds good, it's the right thing to say, it's a good public perception. Don't just say that. Be about it. Because at the end of the day, we'll be able to tell off of your spirit. I'm in tune with everyone's spirit. We'll be able to tell if you're genuine or not. I can genuinely tell when I meet someone that is, you know, Black or not, or excuse me, that a non-Black person, I can immediately tell if they're an ally or not. I can just feel that energy. I can sense when someone hates me or not. I can feel it. And so I'll kind of wrap myself up, but when it comes to accountability, I think on a public platform, people with bigger audiences need to really sit back and reflect and sit with themselves on, so yeah, I guess a majority of your followers are of this type of target audience base, and you did all your statistical analysis and you've done that and that works, that's fine. There's still an audience that you are, your messages aren't crafted to, or you're not engaging with, or you don't really know about. And so the longer, you know, that goes on, you hold yourself to that, the longer you will still remain in the same place. It's an effort that you have to make yourself to change.
Beautiful. And I'll just add on to this, because it's just, for so long, I've been really passionately desiring to see not only politicians, but just leaders in every single space, everywhere, entrepreneurial leaders, just people, artists. I want to see these leaders be people who are advocating for the people who are advocating for each other, people who are talking about these really just heavy topics and issues that are going on in this world. And you know, in 2020 and 2021 and moving forward, like, I just personally don't see a world where we're continuing to uplift our top leaders who are staying silent and complacent to a lot of these issues. And so in order to hold yourself accountable, I would just ask you this question, and I want you to look at your following. I want you to look at your business pages, your social media pages, and I want you to just ask yourself, who am I catering to? Am I catering to a white audience, or am I catering to a more diverse audience? Am I catering to white comfort, or am I catering to the comfort of BIPOC folks and disenfranchised folks? Like, what type of message am I putting out there? These are things that we should all be thinking about and talking about. And for people out there that are saying that, why would I put this message out on my social media. It's just a social media. It's just my personal page. Well, your social media is a direct representation of either you as a person or your business and the practices that you put out into the world. So I just wanted to leave those questions with you and just really reinforce the importance that it's not just a social media page.
Loved that. Thank you, Ashley. I also want to say that when you're taking accountability, it goes beyond just changing your actions and changing how you support BIPOC individuals. It also has to do with acknowledging your past. Like I already shared my past earlier in this panel about how I was once that person that invalidated BIPOC individuals and their experiences, and when they said that they were experiencing racism and stuff like that. And while I'm really proud of the growth that I've made since then and how much I've educated myself, I'm also really embarrassed that I was ever that person to begin with. And even though I'm extremely embarrassed of my past and extremely embarrassed that I once was absolutely not an ally, probably the farthest thing from it, I hold myself accountable and I talk about that, because if others don't see that growth and see that it is possible, where are they going to get that inspiration from to be like, okay, I can actually change and I can be better towards everybody? Because I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I was always an ally, like I was always great, y'all were always my friends, like, because that's not the case. There was once a point where I was not doing what I could to be better. And once you get better, you need to also hold yourself accountable towards your past and share your past and share how you grew so that it can invite others to do the same.
And then I just wanted to weigh in real quick on business accountability. We see a lot of conversations from like troop leaders and event organizers and small businesses, and people are like, well, we don't know any BIPOC people. We don't, Black and Indigenous and people of color don't apply for my sponsorships. They don't apply for these events. They don't apply to teach. They don't apply to perform. And I would just suggest that these businesses reflect on that. Why is that? That was an excuse that I used for a long time when I was called out on a lack of representation on my team. And my answer was, well, it's not like I discriminate against these people. They just don't apply. And you really have to reflect on why that is. Why weren't Black people and Indigenous people and people of color applying to be a part of my team? Is it because I haven't included them in the past? Is it because I don't use them in my promotion? Is it because I don't put them on my feed? Is it because my team is all white? Is it because I have been making racists perfectly comfortable interacting with me? Have I not spent enough time making racists incredibly uncomfortable? So I would really urge shop owners and event organizers to really reflect on why it is you're not getting that engagement from flow artists of color and Black flow artists and Indigenous flow artists, because there's a reason for that. That's no longer an excuse that we can accept anymore. You have to remain accountable and you have to recognize why people are not coming to you. There's a reason for that.
Audra, thank you so much for that, because we're like 2 minutes at time, and I think that is one of the most beautiful points to kind of hone in at, because that's exactly it. There is a reason, and it's just like how I was saying earlier, you don't know what you don't know, and smaller communities, especially Black communities that you are unfamiliar with, they more than likely have a code, and so really kind of sit and reflect upon that. And I think that, yeah, it's just so amazing that we were all able to come together and do this, you guys. I'm so thankful. If everybody can turn back on their cameras, so whoever's still in this forum, I'm so thankful that you guys were able to join me tonight, that you made this time, that we pulled this together, and that we were all able to come and share our stories. We all have different backgrounds, different, different things that we're passionate about. I'm thankful that, people were able to listen to that. I hope that some of our messages were received. I hope that, within this year, it's 2021, it's January. I encourage everybody that has viewed this live stream today to set your intention for the year based off of something that you learned today. And I'm not going to tell you to make your intention to be less racist or to include more BIPOC or whatever. No, you make your own intention based off of something that you learned from this conversation, whatever that is. And work towards that goal every day. You know what I'm saying? Just see where you end up on the other side. And then also see the community or the people that you meet in the meantime while you're doing that and you're achieving that goal, because you wouldn't have met them if you never set that goal or that intention to change. So I just encourage everybody to sit and from today's discussion, just take one thing that you want to encourage to change and work on and do that this year. Jen, if you want to kind of end us out a little on your moderator.
Sure. I mean, I don't have any like grand wrap up. I like defer to you for bringing us all together. But just to talk about next steps a little bit, one of the things as part of our guidelines too, and bringing this whole experience together is really focusing on keeping this momentum and also doing that in a transparent way. So we have been, I've been like taking notes behind the scenes and putting some connecting threads together. And that's something that we're gonna work on sharing out. But additionally, a lot of things are in the works. We might do like a part 2. I already see things in the chat about it. So really excited for that. But the biggest thing really is, as Charmaine already said, just continue to reflect on the conversations that have happened today. Think about the connections that all of these amazingly beautiful people have made, the things that weave our own experiences together, the differences, and the beauty between both of those things, the whole spectrum. It's really, really great.